Hello, my witchy friends. It's Figbury Witch ASMR, and happy Halloween and a blessed Samhain to those who celebrate. I am a witchcraft historian, and I'm going to tell you how I celebrate Samhain with some rituals, a spell towards the middle of the video, and a walk in nature. If you are new here, please subscribe and join the coven, or consider supporting my work on Patreon. I post all sorts of ad-free videos, audios. I also do blog posts on witchcraft history, and I love my patrons so much. We have built such a cozy and close community. It's the easiest way to ask me all sorts of questions and get to know me a little bit better, as well as support the research that I do. So please do come join us on Patreon. I would love to have you. So this October 31st, marks the beginning of the new year for witches. It's the start of another cycle of the wheel of the year. There are lots of ways you could celebrate. I usually start in nature, as I always say in my Wheel of the Year series. Perhaps touch some acorns, commune with squirrels. Or you can pick some wild thyme. This is wild thyme. If you're ever walking and you smell thyme, like Thanksgiving dinner, it's usually wild thyme at your feet. You might also shuffle around some leaves. These are some particularly gorgeous ones. I love the mosaic of colors. In this top one, the purple, green, and yellow, and red. I spend a good part of my Samhain in nature poking turkey tail mushrooms. And also preparing myself for the leaves to fall and the seasons to change. I always get so many questions from subscribers and just from people in general asking, how can I celebrate Halloween as a witch? And if you've been a subscriber for a long time, you know that there is no right or wrong answer. But if you live in North America or in this hemisphere, the first thing you can do is look up. It might be kind of dizzying at first, but look up into the branches of the trees and ground yourself in all of the beauty that the world has to offer. Maybe you can take a minute to look at the berries on a mountain ash tree. Perhaps if it's your own tree, you can take some and make a little berry wreath for your hearth. Or you can leave the berries there and let the waxwings come and have them. This winter, you can see how nature puts out a feast for the creatures that are within it. I like to make a little beverage on the morning of, and I do this in this mug. Normally I would do it in a spookier mug, but this is an ember mug. Not sponsored, although I wish I was. And sometimes I'll put a little cinnamon stick in my drink as a little stirrer. As well, I have some pumpkin spice syrup in this amber glass container. And give it a little shake up. Because, of course, your day has to start with a little bit of tea or coffee. A little pour. And the ember mug keeps your drink warm at like your perfect temperature. So I'm very forgetful, especially on Samhain, because I'm just so excited. Give it a little stir, and I also have some oat creamer by Elmer's. And I'll put a pour in there. Now, traditionally, October 31st, All Hallows Eve, particularly in witchcraft practice, is a day to connect with your ancestors or deities that you feel some kind of strong connection to. That's a delightful sound. And I'm pouring my cup of coffee with intention and remembrance of a loved one who passed away. This October, many, many years ago, we used to go for coffee together all the time. And so, as I stir, I think of him. I think of those who have left the earth. And that's part of how I celebrate the day. Remembrance. As well, I'll usually spend some part of the day crafting. I send out postcards for Halloween, usually well ahead of Halloween, but I'm a bit late this year. I'm not really a Christmas or Yule card kind of person. I really just do Samhain mail-outs. And a couple of these are actually going to my patrons who are in the middle tier, the witchiest friend tier, because you get mail-outs on my Patreon, which is one of my favorite things to do, is send mail to you all. This one says Halloween, and there's many cats on it. But making mail and collages is a great way to spend the day as well. And then, of course, I set up my altar. So this is my hearth, and I'm going to light a little bundle of this is sage that I grew a couple years ago. It's a different variety. It burns with a sweet kind of smell. But my altar is actually in my fireplace because it's a safe spot for you to burn candles. And I'm just gonna light this bundle of herbs in this candle here. And in a little bit in this video, I will show you how I actually make these bundles. The full-length video of the process with step-by-step instructions will be up on my Patreon soon. But here I am just clearing the space for my Samhain spell work. And of course, you don't need to use a fireplace if you don't have one that works for this. But whatever space you decide to do this spell in, just make sure that you supervise the burning of your flames and keep it away from pets. I usually use matches, but there's a lot of candle lighting that has to be done here, so for efficiency's sake, I'm using a lighter. Okay, so what you're going to need for this spell is a little cup of bay leaves. You can just take 2, but when I poured the bay leaves out, a bunch of them came out. Make sure they're not too broken like these are. You're going to want to also have a pen or a Sharpie because you're going to write something on one of these or 2 of these bay leaves. So pick your writing surface bay leaf wisely. As well, you'll need some cinnamon sticks. Just 1 is fine. I have a whole bunch because I was just using them, of course, to make my pumpkin spice beverage. They also make delightful sounds at Yule time. I'll show you some other things that I do with cinnamon sticks. And these are marigold petals that I harvested this summer, but you can use any kind of orange flower, the orange, of course, to evoke the pumpkin color, because that's one of the most iconic kind of colors from this season. People often forget that you can just pick the flowers off of marigolds and dry them in under a tea towel on a plate. And this jar was once full, but it was only a couple marigolds. Like, there are a lot of flowers. As well, I've got some sweet Annie here, but you can choose any green grounding herb. Basil works really well, oregano, mint, anything that you have around. I always make sure to use a base of some kind of green herb in my spells. And I also happen to just have a massive bag of this sweet Annie, so you might also want to put a pumpkin near your altar. Many witches I know do this. I do this. And I go and choose my pumpkin with a whole lot of intention. And it's usually more than 1 pumpkin that I come home with. I place them around my house. So that goes on my altar. As well, around Samhain, I work a lot with rosemary. You'll see later in this video that I make rosemary bundles to burn. And it's one of those original herbs that, like, you can never kind of go wrong with. So we're going to use that oil to anoint our black candle here. So you're also going to need a specifically black taper candle. And I usually buy my candles from a local witch that makes them. But this symbolizes the connections with your ancestors, the mystique and intrigue of the season. As well, you're going to need something to secure that candle to the candlestick. So I use stickum, which works really well. But yes, Celtic and Druidic practices almost always rely on black candles for Halloween or Samhain celebrations because they're believed to aid candles in communication with the spirit realm, and black candles symbolize the honoring of departed ancestors. And I know a lot of people have negative connotations with black candles, but really they're all about protection and banishment, connecting with yourself, exploring hidden truths, actually warding off malevolent forces. So just like you're trying to start a fire, you're going to anoint the candle with rosemary, and you can kind of see that it becomes a little bit less, there's less wax bloom, and rosemary symbolizes fidelity and remembrance. So I often use it on Samhain because it helps pull back the veil. Because the veil is, of course, thinnest on Samhain. I'm going to select a cinnamon stick. You can use cloves, star anise, any warm, spicy herbs. I just have cinnamon sticks on hand. So I'm going to place that in a small bowl of sorts. And I'll put it here until I have the bowl ready. As well, we're going to put some marigold petals in this bowl. And again, you can make a spell jar. I outline how to do this in my Ostara ASMR video. But I like to just put it, especially on Samhain, in a little offering bowl of sorts. So you're going to assemble all your herbs into one jar or one bowl that you're going to put next to the candle. As well, the sweet Annie is going to go in there. It's generally like a little bit. You don't need a whole lot. But this is also known as sweet wormwood or annual. It's like annual mugwort. It's not mugwort, but similar. And then you'll put your little cinnamon stick on top. And you're going to put it next to the candle that you will burn. Make sure the bowl isn't like touching super closely any of the hot candles. And then we are going to take our bay leaf, and I won't be doing it right now, but for the purposes of demonstration, you would write on the bay leaf your wish for the new year ahead. Because this is basically the witch's new year, the start of the wheel of the year. You can write it and then burn the bay leaf completely. And if there are any ashes left, make sure that you extinguish the embers. You can hear it. Burn. Make sure you extinguish the embers, and then you can bury them in some earth outside if you'd like. As you burn it, imagine your wish coming true. Now you can light the candle and let it burn until it's completely disappeared. It's fully gone. And as well, once I've set everything up, I like to do a little tarot reading for myself. This is the Rackham Tarot, so the Arthur Rackham Tarot. Famous, kind of witchy, fairy-like artist. And we're going to pull 3 cards, but you can also do a Wheel of the Year spread. So pull 8 cards, 8 to represent all 8 sabbats and what those sabbats might hold for you. you, because it's a great time on Samhain to start thinking about and planning the year ahead. We'll just give it a shuffle and we'll do a past, present, future layout, and I like to just tuck them into my altar, which we will do here. So let's see, we'll pull this one. Just some gorgeous art on it. And I place them like so, and I usually leave them there. Again, make sure they're not too near a flame. And then again, spread and pick another, and then put it down. So that would be my present card. And you can also use your time to journal if you'd like, do some scheduling. Okay, and this one. Can't see. Yeah, okay. This card we'll put here. So you might reflect on what the meanings of the cards are as they connect with you. And I also have my wonderful, beautiful Witches date book. This is for 2024. And I usually use this on Samhain. And it says here, Samhain is the final harvest. The fields are mostly bare. The shadows fall early across meadows and suburban lawns. But they aren't the only shadows to be found on Samhain. We are also in the shadow of the spirit realm. As dark forgets the light of day, the shadows of the night are active with spirits. Some of these shadows carry with them the spirits of our beloved ancestors. On the night of shadows, you may connect with your ancestors. Cover your altar with black fabric. Place photos of your deceased loved ones on your altar. Near the center, place one red apple, it says. And you can do a couple of different things, and I'm just showing you how I do it, but sometimes I will bring a photo of a loved one to my altar. And I also in the past have set out an extra meal, a plate of food for them at the dinner table. But as well, you can just read about the history of Halloween. So this is one of my favorite books with Halloween spells, customs, and recipes. It's by Silver Ravenwolf, and I've been reading through, in particular, the jack-o'-lantern history section. They do an excellent job of kind of outlining that history and how folklorists are kind of unable to pinpoint the birth of the tale of Jack and his beginnings. But I like to do in-theme reading. You can even watch a movie if you'd like. Some favorites, of course. Practical Magic, The Craft, some Sabrina the Teenage Witch. But I will be posting a reading of this book on Patreon. And I'd love for you to join me in looking at this book. So that's how I prepare my altar. And usually from here, I will finish up any of the harvesting that I have to do. I do have a bit of a longer growing season where I am. So I make herb bundles usually on Samhain. It's been a tradition for the past few years. I also pick some of my herbal stuff like lemon balm. A full video of the bundle making process will be up on Patreon very soon. But I make it with all sorts of herbs. I usually start with lavender and, wow, Figment was munching back there. I had Um, he's always very curious. Your cats will always be very curious about what you're doing. But I just begin by cutting nice and close to the base of each branch. This is kind of a weird variety of lavender that I would not get again because it's kind of like flimsy, sort of. It's weird. I also picked all my lemon balm and I'm going to make tea with it. I've been harvesting it throughout the season, but this is just what was left, and I'll hang dry it. As well, I love to make rosemary bundles, so I'm just going through and cutting these very, very long stalks of rosemary, and I'll cut them down into smaller bits and pieces, just because, like, they're way too cumbersome and large as they are. And then I just take some string and I twine it around and around and around. You kind of have to fold up and squish the herbs so that they're in there nice and tightly. This is some garden sage, and so you try to tuck in almost all of those herbs into there. As well, I love growing garden sage. It's delicious in cooking, of course, and it's really fun to cook with on Samhain. I've posted a video of this recipe before, a pumpkin pasta recipe. I don't do a lot of cooking videos anymore on YouTube because nobody seems to like them or something. I don't know. But I often use garden sage, and I just go through and I pick all of the kind of yellowy bits off, and then do the same thing that I've done with all the other herbs. You just, with some very sharp scissors, cut all of the pieces that you want off the plant and kind of bundle them together as you go. So I'll get probably around like 5 or 6 bundles just out of this plant. I'm just doing my very small plants. I did my garden earlier this year, but this is kind of the stuff that I have. Not in the ground, just in pots. But again, if you want to see more of that, you can go on Patreon. And after I'm done the harvesting, I'll usually find myself going on a walk. I like to do 1 or 2 walks on Samhain. It's one of my favorite things. And I encourage you on these walks, maybe to bring something to read or something to journal in. And you can really just spend time thinking about your goals for the upcoming year, where you see yourself, where you are right now. Touching some pine. But you want to look for fallen leaves and acorns, pine cones, things that signify the changing seasons. And really, historically, Samhain has always been a celebration of the seasonal transition from a kind of different phase of the year to the darkest time of the year. It's the end of the harvest season and the beginning of winter. It's the perfect time to honor and recall the memories of the friends and family that may no longer be with you. But you can also take a very pagan approach to it and just partake in some good old-fashioned nature worship by going for a walk in the woods, tree branches. And this is, of course, a time where the veil between worlds is thinnest. You can connect with the energies of the season. And as you walk, notice the transformation around you. The golden leaves underfoot, the fading sunlight, the sounds of wildlife preparing for winter. Each element serves as a reminder of life's cycles. You might pause in a quiet spot to reflect. Think about those who have passed. Celebrate their memory. Invite their presence into your heart. I always like to bring some small tokens that I've gathered from the forest, like acorns and pine cones and fallen leaves. And I bring them home with me and put them on my altar. I'd also keep a lookout for little creatures like chipmunks and squirrels. Or try to catch fallen leaves. I know, that's what I was doing. It's actually really hard to try and catch fallen leaves. But on this day when I filmed this video, the signs of fall had just begun. And then only a few days later, when I returned to the same spot in this forest nearby, there was way less green all of a sudden. Just like that, fall can pass you by really quickly. And it feels like one of those things that I struggle to get a grasp on because it moves so fast. But there's always beauty to be found in just enjoying the season for what it is, instead of being worried about soaking it up in the most perfect way possible. Look at those turkey tail mushrooms on that tree. Samhain is also a powerful time for divination. You can, as I said before, practice scrying or using tarot cards. I know that after this walk, I'll be going home to make a big pot of soup, probably some butternut squash soup, as I have a lot of squashes from my garden. And I hope that you enjoyed watching this video, that the meditative end to it has got you feeling relaxed. And I'd love to know in the comments what you do to celebrate Samhain. I know everyone is different, or even if you don't celebrate Samhain, what your Halloween plans are more broadly. And of course, if you've never tried wearing a witch hat on Halloween, whether for a costume or just because you want to, I highly recommend getting your hands on one and taking a little stroll about town. Of course, Samhain is the night where no one will question you, but witch hat can be a nice way to protect your head from the rain. This one is from Costura Royale, or Rial. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. And you can see a close-up of it in my Witch Hat Collection show and tell video that I posted a few weeks ago. But blessed Samhain to you and happy Halloween. I hope that you and your loved ones have an absolutely abundant and beautiful day and evening. Thank you so much for being here for another Wheel of the Year video. I hope that you have a restful and peaceful sleep, and I will see you again very, very soon. Good night, my witchy friend.